proprietary.
Let's eliminate these godless rebels once and for all.
Tech demos are made by many different developers to test the potential of their proprietary engine on new console hardware. Most of the time this will be a short film fully rendered in-engine, but other times this could be a small game which utilizes and shows off many of the new features that the consoles have to offer, such as the case with the recent Astro's Playroom of the PlayStation 5, which shows off all the capabilities of the DualSense controller. What happens then, man, when you try to make a full-blown gaming experience out of a tech demo? You end up with the Order 1886. Not a terrible game by any stretch, but it didn't live up to its full potential. In this video, I'm going to talk about what it was and what it could have been, as the Order 1886 chose graphics over gameplay. Before we press on though, I've hidden this somewhere in the video. If you're the first person to tell me where and when you saw it down in the comments, I'll put you into the next one. So, the Order 1886. Okay. It's not actually a tech demo. It does, however, look absolutely fantastic. It was developed by Ready at Dawn Studios using the Rad Engine 4.0, which is totally rad, dude. And they went for an aspect ratio of 2.4:1 to give it a more cinematic feel. So you have the black bars at the top, very much like Evil Within. That had a very cinematic feel with the way that they set it up. Personally not a fan. I want to see more! And what also helps this game stand out is the fact that all of the characters you see in this, their in-game model and their cutscene model are the same model. There's no difference between the cutscenes and the gameplay in terms of how the characters look. So that's why you have such incredibly detailed character models wandering around this world. And to do this, they actually designed more complex head rigs for the actors to wear to capture as much detail as possible. And they've really tried to immerse the player by getting this seamless transition between cutscenes and gameplay, which, to be honest, most games strive to do nowadays, and we're a lot better at it than we were before. I mentioned that they tried to do this as well in my video of Enslaved Odyssey to the West, which you can click the card at the top to see that. I feel like they did a fantastic job here. The transitions between the two really are quite seamless. And also, to help the player get a feel for the world, the developers travelled to London, studied the buildings, and then looked at military uniforms of the era, capture the feel of the late 19th century London, and to bring the Industrial Revolution to life. The main focus of this game was to really show off what the PlayStation 4 was capable of graphically, and they did that. But the game is more than its graphics. There was so much wasted potential with this game, and because of that, I'm really hoping for a sequel. So I'm just going to run over a few things that I think could have been improved upon in the game, and also things that I'd be hoping to look for in a sequel if we ever get one. Well, man, the graphics hit their potential. They look absolutely fantastic, so I can't really see that there's any improvement to be made there. If you want to include it in with the graphics, I'd say actually give us a 16:9 resolution instead of having those bars to make it more cinematic, but that's just personal preference for me there. I also noticed, which is probably a trick with this game, the Order 1886 is quite dark, and I feel there's a filter applied to it which would make it seem more cinematic, and perhaps if that filter was removed, it might actually show some of the graphical shortcomings that the PlayStation 4 had. Shortcomings that probably won't be there if they made another on the PlayStation 5. With the graphics being what they are, the city of London looks eerily beautiful. You know, they've really captured that time period, but it's like a film set where you see the backdrop of, say, houses and that, but you go behind it and it's literally just the front of the house being held up by some stilts. You can't explore the city. The game is very much on rails. There's slight paths you could take, but it's literally, say, 10 steps off of the critical path, and all you're really going to find is maybe a voice recording or a newspaper, which tells you some of the goings on in London at the time. There's really nothing that you can explore here, which is a crying shame. Now, I'm not saying that a second one needs to be an open world, not by any means, but for example, if you was to look at The Last of Us Part 2, they've gone for like a hub world design, so not open world as such, but the areas that you're in for each section, they're quite open. You can fully explore each area, and I feel that method of level design would be effective in this style of game. It'd be great if you could allow the player to use vehicles within those hub areas, for example, allowing the player to ride in a horse and car or fly in one of those big Sentinel airships. You could perhaps use those airships as a sort of fast travel system between each of the areas, and it just really opens up the world for the player to just fully explore without it feeling, you know, a bit overwhelming. Some people are a bit overwhelmed with open worlds. I know I am myself. It'd also be nice to have a home hub area as well. You visit Tesla once at the beginning of this game and pretty much get all the weapons and gadgets that you need straight away. You never go back to see Tesla, which I feel is very underutilized. It'd be great if you had Tesla as your little gadget man, you know, and visit his lab as a sort of like Batcave, where you can upgrade your gear, discover new weapons, actually use Tesla to research new weapons, so find sort of like blueprints, and then he can retcon them and make up his own weapons and just open up different styles of gameplay as well. And speaking of the gameplay, it's very basic. You basically go up to something, press triangle. Then you get behind someone, press triangle. Shooting and cover mechanics is pretty standard. It's very basic and uninvolved for the player. They've tried to immerse the player in the story and the environment, but they're not really allowing the player to explore that and really get in there with the different sorts of gameplay. You want to feel involved in the world, and obviously the only way we can interact with the world is through the controller, so we need to do more than just push one button. And moving around London, if they did this hub area style of level design, it could be so much fun. London's a very cramped city, so all the buildings are close together, so instead of just walking around the streets, you could scale buildings and climb across rooftops. You move across rooftops in parts of the Order 1886, so why not allow the player to do that freely? Not quite as flowy as Assassin's Creed, but just allow them to get around. And with London being so cramped, that provides a lot of areas for cover for the shooting system. You don't have to completely change the cover shooting system. Cover shooters are needed. They're a needed genre of games. There's nothing wrong with the next one being another cover shooter as well. And although we do get some unique guns with this time period of the Industrial Revolution, they really give you one that fires a bolt of electricity, and then you got another one which fires a cloud of thermite and then a flare to ignite that and just completely melt your enemies. Is just like, no thank you. I'd love to see more intricate weapons and gadgets. There's some really amazing ideas there, and they can explore that a lot further with the sequel. And with the thermite gun I mentioned, you could give more applications of that. So in one part of this game, there's a cutscene where Galahad will place a disc of thermite onto some debris that's in the way to blow it up and move it out the way. Well, you could switch up the gameplay and have thermite as ammo for the gun, or you can use it to get into locked areas to net extra goodies, things to collect, like a cache of ammo. But the player has to think, do I save this ammo and use it because it could be a scarce resource, or do I use it and hopefully find great things in this back room somewhere? Again, it gives the player a choice and just things to explore, opens the world. And maybe they wouldn't need so much thermite for the gun if there was just less waves of enemies. Too many enemies. There was too many enemies in the Order 1886. And to be honest, that's one of the big complaints that I had about the Uncharted games. I have a video on Uncharted 2 coming up very soon, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss that, and hit the bell notification icon. And instead of fighting all these people that just come out of the woodwork like, "Oi, governor!" why can't we fight more lichens and vampires? That's why the Order was created, wasn't it? To fight against werewolves. So why can we not fight against them instead of fighting against these bowler hat wearing fucks? That's what I want to see more of. More rabid dogs to shoot. More pointy teeth bastards. Stake him in the heart. Silver bullets and ping, ping. That's what I want. I want to fight the real enemy, not just some rebels that are trying to take down the monarchy. And we'll briefly touch the story for a sequel. Now, if you've played The Order 1886, spoiler alert if you haven't, you'll know that Galahad's no longer with the Order. He's basically been set up as a traitor and has been kicked out. But the after credits scene shows that he ain't done, and he's still working with Tesla. Now, a great thing for the second one, he could be some sort of bounty hunter. You know, you could take out mercenary contracts, go hunting for lichens that are trying to disguise themselves as average people, or take out vampires and, you know, maybe have gangs of vampires or something that you can take out. That doesn't have to be the main plot, but that could be some sort of side content for the player to engage in. There's no side content in this. The main plot point, I figure, should probably be bringing the corruption of the Order to light, showing that Galahad is innocent and his friends Igraine and the new Percival is actually being lied to. You know, the Order that they've been fighting with for so long isn't what it appears. We need to bring that down. Restore it to its former glory. You know, maybe in the end of it, Galahad could take the lead of the Order. That'd be a nice ending, wouldn't it? Or maybe even set it up for a third. There's one part in this game where vampires are trying to be shipped over to America. Why not have Galahad travel to America and fight around the Boston area and try and take down some vampires and, you know, the head of the people that were going to be receiving those on the other end? You know, hop on a boat, go across the pond, go take those fuckers down. That's what I want to see. This is a world I want to see more of. The Order 1886 is a gorgeous looking game and looked years ahead when it released on the PlayStation 4 in 2015. Unfortunately, the main focus was on how much it can push the PlayStation 4's graphical capabilities and left the gameplay severely lacking. I still very much enjoyed the game, but only so much as the story and the characters, as the gameplay just left me wanting more. There is so much potential in this idea, and it can easily go on to have a sequel and correct the mistakes that this game made. Sony holds the rights to the IP, and Ready at Dawn is now under the wing of Microsoft, so a sequel looks unlikely. If a sequel is to be made, I'd rather have Ready at Dawn try their hand again as a multi-platform game, rather than have Sony find a new developer and release it as an exclusive. Purely because Ready at Dawn are already so familiar with the world, and have their own vision for the world that they've already created. I'd like them to have the opportunity to show us what they can do if they shifted focus and didn't choose graphics over gameplay. Have you played The Order 1886? What did you think of it, and what would you like to see in a sequel? Let's discuss it down in the comments. Fill the like button with silver bullets, and subscribe for discussions on all things gaming, past, present and future. Click the card in a second to see my video on why cross-generation games are important, and I'll see you over there. Bye bye.